Moving on to the topic number 17, here we find the inverse of the functions. So now over here you can see f of x is a function given as 4x squared, and they have given one more function g of x as half root x. They are asking us to know whether this is inverse or no. First of all, here there is no domain or nothing, but there is domain restrictions as well in the next part. So in the same topic, so there are two types of problems basically. If the question is just like this, write yes or no, it is very, very simple. All you need to do is find the inverse. And you do not need to find the inverse for both, it's just for one. And I'm sure by now you have found inverse many times and you're thorough with it. But anyways, let's look into the steps. First is, instead of the function f of x, write y. F of x means it's the function of x. So that is equal to y. So instead of f of x, we write y equals 4x squared. Now the next thing over here is to swap x and y. What do you do over here is change this x to y and y to x and x to y. Look over here. All I have done, instead of y, I have written x, and instead of x, I have written y. We are swapping the x and y. Now over here, the domain is also swapped basically. So anyways, that we will, the domain and range will come about in the next type in the same topic. But here, see, this happens here. And then you need to solve for the new y, that is this y. All you're doing is take the 4 to the other side and simplify, take square root on both the sides so that y squared, the square root cancels. See, square root over here and over here, this cancels. What's going to happen over here? Look, if it is root 1 by 4, basically 4 is written as 2 square, right? It can be written as 2 square, and if there is a square, it can be cancelled. And this is 1 square is the same thing. So you can just write it as 1 by 2. Okay? 1 by 4 will become 1 by 2. And this root x remains as it is. If you're getting much confused, you can just use the calculator over here. So now in the calculator, okay, all you need to do is type it out, square root, use the fraction symbol 1 by 4. The answer is half, or 0.5. That's it, very straightforward, but it's still not over because y, what does this y mean? This is the inverse function. It's not y, replace it by f inverse, and that's it. That is the answer. And now verify this and this. Is it the same? Yes, if it is same, the answer is yes. They are same or equal. That means they are inverse function. Yes is your answer over here. Now, if you are just thinking, what if I take the inverse of this? Will I get 4x squared? Absolutely, you should get x squared. It's up to you. You can choose this or this. I've not done that, but I'll just do it over here by writing. Now, you have half root x, which I'll take it as y. And now, all you need to do is swap x and y. So this becomes x equals half root y. And now solve for y, take 2 to the other side, becomes 2x equals root y square on both the sides. It'll be y square, y only, square root and square cancels. You will have 4x square equals y over here. This is the answer. Look over here. Yes, absolutely. This is basically 4x square is g inverse, because I've taken g of x, right? G inverse of x, okay? Now, 4x squared. Here the function f of x is same thing. So they are inverse. But in the exam, don't go to do both of these. Just do one. It is more than enough because only one will prove it, yes or no. So that's the thing. Now here similarly, please do these others and we will... Okay, no. Wait, let me just check. Yeah, this is no. You can understand no because, see 1 by 3 becomes 3 and squared becomes a root, and this over here changes, but you can understand few of the parts at least. Now here 4 becomes 1 by 2 because of the square, this becomes rooted and goes down, and over here this becomes square root. If it was square root, it becomes square. Now if it's x cube, it becomes cube root. And this over here shouldn't have been 2 by 3 because it goes to the other side. It should be 3 by 2. Since I saw it's 2 by 3, I'm just telling it's no. Let's anyways check this. I will take the function f of x 2 by 3x squared. All you need to do is take this to the other side, swap first. X is equal to 2/3 of y squared. Take 3 to the other side, goes up, and divided by 2 because this goes down. Or you have to multiply 3 by 2 both the sides, this becomes 1. Now then, equals, sorry, it is cube. I have written wrong over here. It is cube, so power 3, 3 dimensions, so we call it cube. Now take the cube root on both the sides. This is the answer. Okay, this is the answer. Is it the same? No, here it is 2 by 3 x, over here it's 3 by 2, so this is no. The answer should be no. Let's just check. The answer is no. So that is how we do it. Very simple. All you need to do is simplify. Now here you can see it'll be square root, and over here it'll be square, but it's not correct because when you solve it you will get some other some little error, so make sure you solve it by yourself. All these problems, please do solve it by yourself and then check for the answers. If you get the same answer, if you take anything, even you can take g of x, you must get this. If you don't get this, it's wrong. Here g of x or f of x can be taken. It's easier to take f of x. Why? Take square root, this cancels, and then it's easier. So please solve them all by yourself and then check. But this is the easy part. But we are not over now. Oh, I'm sorry for the animation. I just realized this. Now, what we need to do is find the domain of function f of x, f inverse of x, and we need to find the inverse function as well. So many things. First, let us find the inverse. Just now what we did, x squared plus 5, here take this as y equals x squared plus 5, then swap the x and y. Instead of y you write x, and instead of x you write y, so it's y squared plus 5. And then what happens is, take this 5 to the other side, x minus 5 equals y squared. And then take the square root on both the sides, that becomes y equals square root x minus 5. And what is this? Y, that is the inverse function, f inverse of x, square root x minus 5. This is the inverse. Okay. But what about the domain and range? Do I need to find the domain for this or this? Now they have asked only the domain, so it's simple. The given function you need to understand thoroughly and write the domain and range for this. What is the given function? Here the given function is a parabola, and since it's plus 5, this point is 5. The domain for parabola is always all real numbers. Okay, all real numbers. That is greater than or equal to 0 or less than or equal to 0. I'll tell you why it's written like this in a while. But domain, it's simple. If it's parabola, it's very easy. Or if it's a linear function, cubic, always it's all real numbers. But what about the range? Now this range is an important part. Here, since you know it's plus 5, it's all the values greater than or equal to 5. Okay, so if it is just added, anything is added or subtracted, you must make sure that you understand this. Since this is a simple one, if it was something like x squared plus 2x minus 5, we have found similar problems in the last video. Please go back over there. I have told how to find this. You need to find the vertex form minus b by 2a. You'll get the x value, substitute it, and then you'll get the y value, and depending on the sign it'll be either greater than or less than. This is if you get functions like this. Most of the time it's like you will not get such functions because you can see they're all simple problems. So it's easy to find the range and domain. Now coming back to the range, here just see whether it's plus 5 or minus 5. If it is plus 5, 5 is required over here. And where does, sorry, it's range, right? It is y over here. What happens? Is it greater than or equal to? Since x squared is positive, it's upwards, it's opening upwards the graph. If it was downwards, negative, then it would be less than or equal to. That's the only thing. Now I hope this is clear. Domain is all real numbers and range is y greater than or equal to 5. They have asked domain of only domain f of x. What is it? All real numbers. Okay. What is the range? What is the domain of the inverse function? The range of the given function which you solve is the domain for the other inverse function. You can find the domain. See, you can solve this and find it over here. But you do not need to do that. Why? Because the range of this particular function is itself the inverse function. Now, why it is split like this? Because now imagine you have a square root function. Sorry, uh, square root function like this. Or if you have a parabola also, it's fine. The inverse is basically this inverse will be a parabola, right? Why? Square root x inverse is x square. It goes something like this. But really, you're just focusing on this particular part. Okay, this should start somewhere over here. Actually, now, now it's much better, or else it'll be touching. That's why. Now you're dealing with inverses along x is equal to y line. So this part is the only part that you're focusing, so it'll be from 0 and greater than. So we usually split it, what is happening in the left side and what is happening in the right side. It's basically all real numbers, yes, but you write it like this because it's more convenient to understand, because I'll tell you why in a while. In some type of problems it's very crucial like that, especially the square root problems. In this problem it doesn't matter. Okay, now I'll repeat most important thing which you must remember over here. Keep it in mind, whatever is the given function f of x that is given to you, find the domain and find its range. And then what you do is, all you need to do is this whatever range, it'll come as y is greater than or equal to phi, right? Don't write y, that is the domain for the inverse function. Domain for that will be, whenever you write domain, it's x is greater than or equal to phi. That is what. So whatever is the range of the given function will be the domain for the inverse function. This you must remember. Now here, these are same like what we had done. So this is simple. If it's parabola, you can easily get it. Since over here it's starting from 0, so it's like this, right? 3x squared, just the shape of this will change. Now over here, the square root function, if you solve, will be 1 by 3 square root x, I believe, something like this. Now it'll be something over here. So the domain and range is very simple, whatever we just now did. But over here in these square root functions, it little changes. I'll quickly find the inverse square root of x. That will be uh, x plus x square root. This changes to x is equal to square root y plus 6, and you square on both the sides, it becomes x, and this comes over here, minus 6 is equal to y. So this is the actual inverse function. Now don't think the domain for this function is all real numbers, it's a parabola. No, it will be wrong if you take like this. In these cases it's fine, because over here square root function, you're finding the domain later on. Here it is not possible. Here you must be careful. You must first write the domain and range of this function. What is the domain? Domain over here is square root. So whatever is greater than that plus 6, whatever is inside must be greater than or equal to 0. Whatever is inside this. So x will be greater than or equal to minus 6. That's it. Okay. What is the range? Range is the y value. Square root function, remember, it is only greater than or equal to 0. So the range over here is y is greater than or equal to 0. Now look at the answers. What is happening? This one, yes, it's clear. It's greater than or equal to minus 6. And the domain for the inverse function, look, the range is changed. Instead of y, we put x greater than or equal to 0. So please remember this. Whatever is given, find its domain, find its range. Even in the last video, we have talked about this. Find the domain and range. Whatever is the range will become the domain for the inverse function. Now, if you're thinking why all that, now I'm just sticking to the exam topic and I've not gone in detail. I can do another video to explain exactly why it happens, because when you're swapping x and y in the finding inverse, that is why you need to understand it's whatever is the range will become the domain for the inverse function, because there is a step where you swap x and y, right? It's swapped. So the inverse functions, sorry, I remember that. So the inverse functions range is basically the domain is basically the range of f of x. So that is it. Please go back, try to recall this video if you're getting confused, and then you can easily solve this type of problem. Solve it by yourself and then check for the answers.